transportation corridor right there with Highway 1088. They're a big part of that approval and review of the design process. Understanding that, we were under the gun to get this design done as quick as we could so that we could get it into that approval process going, because those processes with the governments can take months, and we realized, hey, we want to get in the ground this year. So we started the design in January, like I said. By April 27th, we actually put the project up for tender. Design had not been 100% complete. We would say probably 95%. It was still in Alberta Transportation's hands being reviewed. We were in constant communication. Farrell was a big help with that too, reaching directly to the ministers. So we did get to see some action on responses from the design perspective. We were offered comments in July. We received comments first week and second week of July. So just to reiterate, we tendered the project in April 27th to May 18th. We gave the contractors 3 weeks to price it. We had 7 contractors submit with a range of prices between 2.73 and 3.4 million. Our estimate for the project was originally 4.4 million. So we were pretty happy with the results. I was very surprised actually that it was lower than what we anticipated. The cost estimate we did was in 2022, and we had factored in increases in pipe costs, asphalt costs, and fuel prices, which all have market effects that impact the construction costs for municipalities. Long and short of it is, we looked at the results and we thought, geez, right on. This is going to be right on track. We set up the contracts in draft to get sent out for signatures. And I'm going to back up, sorry. So the contract came in with a value of $2.9 million. Is the contractor that was recommended. And they're definitely the preferred contractor. We know that they have the capacity, capability. They're going to do good work. We know the other contractors that have been submitted. A lot of them are just as equal. The lower contractor we didn't have much experience with, and the experience we did have in the last few years wasn't the best. That's what I would recommend. Back to the design portion. We tendered it out before the design was complete. So basically we tendered it out at 95%. We got the comments back from Alberta Transportation in July, which is a month and a half after we received the tender packages. And we had to make some design changes, and it made sense. We weren't going to argue with it. It was an Alberta Transportation. They want to see an allowance for 2 extra lifts, basically 8 inches thick of asphalt to allow for overlays over the next 30, 40 years. And when you add that height of asphalt, you have to go wider to maintain your lanes, so the slopes have to go up further. And so we had basically, the highway got a little bit wider, and we had to account for that future lifts. That snowballed into extra gravel, extra pavement, subgrade prep. A lot of construction items are tied to that. We had estimated that at $340,000 at the time, because we hadn't actually got pricing from Border Paving, from the contractor recommended, because there was some new items and there was modified quantities. So some quantities went down, some quantities went up. But the new items, we didn't have any unit rates for because it was 10 previous. So we had estimated $340,000 for those extra design features. So that would have brought it up to about 3.15. I don't have that number. So we had recommended that the contract now be awarded based on the original tender price of $2.9 million plus $340,000. extra changes. Border Paving recognized when the contracts were sent for signatures, they had a massive gross error in their contract submission. It was one line item, and it was for the big water main pipes that we put in the ground, and those were fairly expensive. We see a cost to have those supplied and installed at a rate or a cost of about range between $550 to $650 a meter. And we've got 385 meters to put in. So their bid submission, instead of a $640 or $50 unit rate, they had $68.90. They meant to put $689. So that's a huge, it was a $225,000 mistake. I'm embarrassed because our staff didn't pick up on that mistake when we do reviews of tender submissions. Then it comes right down to our mistake and not having that, and actually providing our letter of recommendation. That error is, it's very nice. We've been talking to Border Paving. The $225,000 miscalculation is, they can't afford to put it in that price. We were able to get them to remove their uptake on that unit rate. Border Paving would be the prime contractor. They do road work. They hire a subcontractor, the underground guys, to put in the pipes. So Border has offered to reduce the $689 rate down to $577 per unit rate, which reduces it close to $27,000. That takes Border's involvement money-wise right out. They knocked all their off, whatever they're going to do with that to administer the underground subcontract. So they've been able to reduce that. We also looked at some other design changes, and we're going to be implementing those depending on how this fall's construction goes. We think that there's opportunities we can save construction. For example, we've got a temporary turnaround. It's going to be gravel. We're most likely not going to need it to be built to the extent that it's been designed to. And those costs for that were about $200,000. They were not in the original budget because it was an add-on feature for some temporary servicing. But we have some mechanisms that we're looking at to help reduce those construction costs for the entire project. So where we're at today is that's not the end, unfortunately. We had sent a letter. Just catch up. Yeah. So after that, we had added the contract up to be $3.16 million. That was on August 4th. Because we had these errors, I had the team go through the whole set of drawings and the list of contract items and the quantities and just go through every sheet. And it took about a week, and unfortunately there was one item that was not in the contract line items that showed up in the plans, and that was part of that Alberta Transportation design comments relating to the gravel thickness. And that never got updated as part of that $340,000 that we predicted was going to be the extra add-ons. This, again, was a gross, large number. It's a huge value. And we got order pricing to shop around and get the best pricing that they could, and it still came up to 300. I don't have that number here. I think it was about $380,000. Okay. So again, now all of a sudden I'm embarrassed twice over within seeing a week or two, and my jaw's dropping. can't believe this is happening. We get together, we went through everything again just to make sure we brought it together. So we looked at our previous budgets, like I explained from 2022, made sure that, look, is this contract value, it's actually legit? Are we overpaying? Are we right on target? How is this? From our budgets, it was under our budget by about 25%. A lot of that is due to we have overestimated the pipe cost for concrete storm ponds. But we also looked at, we tender out dozens of projects annually to municipal buildings. We have a database in the office, so we can see what winter rates are coming in at. And we compare that as well, and if anything, you are getting, you're not paying any more than any other municipality in factor in less than what we see in Spruce Grove, Stone Plain, Sherwood. So the value of the construction, or the value of the contract, with the rates that have been submitted, it is got the value. It has the value for there. It's, we still recommend that Board of Paving be awarded the project for the recalculated. I take any questions.
Mayor Neck, members of council, Steve, when I first brought this forward to council for approval, the letter that we got, the second letter that we received from Justin had basically stated that it was 2.7 million and those 340,000 were inclusive within that number. So that's what I brought forward to council when I brought it forward, and that's what was initially brought forward and approved at that number with it. And of course, and then there was 900,000 that dealt with utilities and the lights, the light system that's going to go in there. That's not changing, but the difference is on this. So of course, you know, we had discussed on that, and of course, that's, you know, was part of the overall changes, correct?
To comment on that letter, I reviewed this letter with Justin and realized he had made a spelling error. Instead of, he wrote, after inclusion of these item changes, referring to the $340,000 items. And you do the math, it's backwards. It was after exclusion, or excluding these items. And because of that spelling mistake, the math goes reverse and it double effect.
So with that, any other questions?
All right.
At the end of the day, you explained several errors and how they occurred. At the end of the day, how large a difference in the cost is there?
Go ahead, sorry. Between, what we originally,
Yes.
the first
What
time and the last time?
What it would have cost you originally, or us originally, and what it is going to cost us now. What is the difference?
The cost, I'm just trying to get an understanding of your question. The cost you want to pay, does that mean what we budgeted for, or the tender opening price?
The tender opening.
Tender opening price was 2.9 million.
And now,
And now,
Five. At least.
we'll take the $900,000 off. System, sorry, that's 3.56 million and 2.9 million.
6 point
$600,000 difference.
million.
Which is the value of the gravel and that error with the water main.
$600,000.
Oh.
Amber?
You noted that you came upon the second mistake on August 4th. Is that correct? The first one was with regards to the piping. The second one was. And the reason why I ask this is I'd like to know when administration was made aware of this.
I have to think about the case. What are the emails for? Trying to figure out the first